In the late 1800s, a school was erected from all colored children in Tarboro and Princeville, and their name Tarboro Colored High School in 1924. It was renamed W.A. Pattillo High School in 1943 after Walter Alexander Pattillo to honor its founders' numerous contributions and dedication. Professor Pattillo served as principal from 1912 to 1946. One of the oldest living students, Ms. Vivian Askew, class of 1932, attended Tarboro Colored High School and reflects on the school in the 1900s. Mrs. Askew is 100 years old.
Well, the first thing we enjoyed was the beautiful new place, because we had been going over to the old place, but the new school was just simply wonderful. We didn't have everything we were supposed to have, but it was new to us, and we just were normal students, and glad to be together again. And I don't know, I think it was just like any student just going someplace new. You know how you enjoy something new, this, you look at this and you look at that and everything. So we just enjoyed being together. Seemed like we were more together than the kids now, you know. We were just like family reunion, all kids getting together in the new school. And we were very excited, of course. And I don't know what we had. There was so many new things we had, and some of the things, of course, came from the white school, because it had their names in it, books and things like that. But if I'm not mistaken, I don't want to be wrong, but I think the first students who went to the new high school, I think my parents had to buy my books. All the kids were eager to learn then. You know, you didn't have these kids getting up from school or breaking up the class and all that kind of stuff. You didn't have that. Everybody was eager to learn. Some of them learned faster than the others, but we were eager to learn and glad to have something pretty, as you know. So I don't know too much about it. The only thing I know, when they first built the school and we went in, I was living over in Princeville, and you have to walk all the way across the bridge and everything. The bus is passing you all along, you walking. But we did. All the kids, that's where we started. We had to walk to the Tarboro High School. Mrs. Weston organized Phyllis Wheatley Club. That was one of the big things. So you came to school 6 o'clock. You put on your gym clothes, and they weren't gym clothes like they wear now. And went out to play tennis. She taught us how to play tennis. And we had that's what was called the Phyllis Wheatley Club. I don't remember seeing a basketball being played around the school at that time. Maybe it was, but I don't remember. And I know there was no boys and things. We didn't have any team. I know we didn't. The first one didn't have any ball team or anything going anywhere to play anything. That came later, much later. $35.
35.
I think there was 30, because they said it was the largest class they had there for a long time after this class went through. Uh, but there was 35 in our class, I think, because I was telling Barnell and them last night. I said Doris was 10. I said I didn't worry about where anybody else was. Doris and me, and I said I was 11 when I graduated. 11 in this class.
Great.
His son, W.H. Pattillo, was appointed principal in 1946. Many changes and improvements were made in the school, and increase and enrollment was evident. A football team in 1933, girls and boys basketball in 1947, marching band, a gymnasium, vocation, and science building in 1950. Our school song was written by Miss Thelma Foster in 1950. A 1962 graduate, Clyde Pattillo, sings a few notes from his Florida home.
Little did we know when we left W.A. Pattillo High School, Tarboro, North Carolina, where life would lead us. But with wide open eyes, and listening ears, and a focused mind, we knew we would find success. Failure was not an option. Just in our song. As long as our God is God above, we know there's no failure. And that we, the classes of W.A. Pattillo High School, would always find success. Create new families around this country and around the world. Oh, how we love W.A. Pattillo High School from Tarboro, North Carolina. We'll sing thy praise and show thy love.
In 1952, under the leadership of Coach Charles England, the football team won the Eastern Conference Football Championship. Throughout the 50s and the 60s, the legend of Pattillo lived on through his leaders and teachers. Our teachers believed in us and taught us to be the best that we could be. In 1960, a change in administration occurred and a new principal was assigned. The final phase of Pattillo was under the leadership of three principals: Mr. Reuben H. Cherry, 1960-1967, Mr. Rudolph Snowden, 1967-1968, and Mr. James Barnes, 1968 and 1970, who was principal at the time the transition took place. Significant changes began to take place in the 60s, and talk of integration was evident across the country. Pattillo was not exempt, and plans began to materialize. They were set to take place in 1971. With this transition came mixed emotions, feeling and sadness, joy and uncertainty. David Smoot, a teacher since 1960 at Pattillo, was a vital part in the implementation of that process. Sandra Jones, advisor and student in 1969 and 1970, had to say about the class. Their journey started in September of 1967, and 82 students crossed over the 8th grade to freshmen at the W.A. Pattillo High School. The journey continued throughout the year as many of them started the activities of being in high school, excelling in academics, football, basketball, glee club, and band. They did it all. Drum major, Ms. Freshman, and freshman homecoming court. They made their mark on Pattillo. Being the last class, 1969 to 1970, a lot of changes affected them. There were 72 graduates at that last class of 1970. Regretfully, approximately 15 are deceased. Those changes, however, did not affect their Trojan pride of spirit. Their class flowers, yellow mom, symbolized joy, optimistic love. Their colors, gold, implied that they were independent and strong-willed, and even though this was the end of the era, black implied a new beginning. This class, in spite of the thought of transition, had a group of dedicated teachers. Mr. Curtis Perry, a history instructor, is seen here with his history class in 1970. They produced a championship football team, had a first-class band with a high-stepping spirit drum major, awesome cheerleaders, a glee club, and a fantastic basketball and baseball team.
The class of 1970 of the W.A. Pattillo High School of Tarboro, North Carolina. This was one of the largest classes to graduate from the school, and they boasted several scholars as had previous classes. They were keenly aware of the opportunities and challenges awaiting them due to the changing times. The imminent integration of the public schools, the opening of jobs and educational opportunities previously denied them and their parents, were things they were going to have to make adjustments to. They were a mixed bag of abilities and talents and differed very little from previous classes except that they were the last graduating class, and the football team won the state championship that year. The football team was one of the largest number-wise we'd ever had, and as a whole, the fleetest of foot that we'd ever had. They were very quick. They were not big guys. Out of the 40 players, we had no more than 4 who weighed 200 pounds or more. But the team was very lucky. During the regular season, we lost to Paquimans County and to Kinston and retired Burlington. But at the end of the regular season, Paquimans had an ineligible player and forfeit all of its games, and this put Pattillo in the playoffs. The team went on to win at Burlington against Jordan Sellers High School in the semifinals, and at Kinston, playing Atkins High School of Kinston for the state championship. The team consisted of 13 seniors, including Alexander Davis, James Bradley, Albert Flowers, Edward Bernal Harrell, Joseph Harrison, Lester Johnson, James R. Pettaway, Edward Pollard, Lamont Sly, Lowell Taylor, Bobby Williams, and Wilbert Williams. There were also 7 juniors, 5 sophomores, and 6 freshmen on the team. The basketball team had a better than 500 season. There were 3 seniors on that team, James Charles Battle, Timothy Whitaker, and Alfonso Wilkins. The remainder of the team was made up of underclassmen. That year there was no baseball team fielded, as it was so hard to make a schedule. Black high schools were closing fast all around us.
That year we had a very good nucleus, we had a very good squad, and all the coaches worked hard together to get this group together. This group was very cohesive. They did a lot of good things. You didn't really have to do a lot of coaching, but you had to pay attention to what was going on all the time. And I appreciate all the guys, all the effort they put into the to the football game, the practices, and things like that, and all the coaches. We were a difficult team in the beginning, but we got it going, and we were very successful. What I liked most about it was that we beat Kinston for the state championship game 13-7. But they beat us the first time around. And also, what made the victory so sweet was because my brother was the head coach at Akron High School at the time in Kinston. And it was a very, very trying time because our mother didn't know who to cheer for. All she could say was, I just hope no one get hurt. So we did a good job. The kids did a good job. The fans supported us wholeheartedly year in and year out. Our coaching staff was very good. Moss and Huzzy, they did a very good job with what they had to do in preparing the kids for this particular game. And I enjoyed it myself. And we had several kids go off to college. They played college football at Central, Federal State, Elizabeth City, and Livingstone.
Their class motto, yesterday we follow, tomorrow we lead, is evident in this success. They had 11 ministers, 7 who pastor their own churches, and professionals.
All through the summer, we knew that the class of 1970 would be the last class of W.A. Pattillo High School. We also knew that this was our last opportunity to go to the championship. We had been bridesmaids, so to speak, before, but we never made it to the championship. So the captains of the team got together with the football team in the locker room, had a discussion, and set our goals. And our goal was to win the state championship. And we've been told, too, that our main obstacle would be HB Suggs out of Farmville. That was about a third or fourth game on the schedule. So we breezed through the first part of the schedule. And when we got to Farmville Central, well, we had problems with Farmville Central, but we beat Farmville Central handily. Then our next challenge was homecoming. We had a school that we've never played before. That was Jordan Sellers out of Burlington. And they came into the stadium with the biggest team that we've ever seen before. Their 2 tackles was over 260 pounds. And the average weight of our line was about 170 pounds. So we were immediate underdogs. At halftime, we went in leading 20-0. And in the third and fourth quarter, a couple of our key players got injured. And they ended up tying the game at 20-all. And that was the only blemish on our record at that point. So we had to realign ourselves, reset our goals, and reestablish our perimeters. And the next game we played was Brawley High School out of Scotland Neck. And they were a team that wasn't supposed to give us any competition at all. But they gave us a lot of competition, but we ended up winning the game. And our next obstacle was Atkins High School out of Kinston. We played a serious game, a tough game. But they ended up winning by 1 point. Final score was 8-7. Another blemish on our record. Our last game was in Perquimans County. And we played that team and we lost that game also. So now we're looking at a record of 8-1-2. And we needed a miracle. And a miracle happened. That team, Perquimans, they had an ineligible player on the team, and thus they lost by forfeit, giving us the break that we needed that allowed us to get into the championship game, get into the playoff. And we had a first round bye, so we had a week to really prepare. And our first game was against C.S. Brown out of Winton. And we beat them, I think, if I remember right, 26-20. Then the next game was against Jordan Sellers out of Burleson again, the team that tied us up at homecoming. We went to that game and we had vengeance in mind. And we went out and we handedly beat them. Beat them 32-21. Then we came up with the championship game, which we had to play Kinston again. And since we had played Kinston down in Kinston, we assumed that the game would be played in Tarboro, but the commissioner decided that the game was going to be played in Kinston. We had a meeting with the commissioner, and they wouldn't change their mind, and they wouldn't change the venue because of the fact that Kinston was a bigger venue than Tarboro. So to make a long story short, we beat them handily, 28-15. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to express my opinion.
The class of 1970 carries a rich history shaped by the influences of our proud African American community and a past that includes great-grandparents who were slaves, segregated schools, major agricultural work experiences, and devoted Christian upbringings. Most of the members of the Pattillo High School class of 1970 went through all 12 years together, making our way through the hallways of all 3 buildings. We received a quality education from our teachers whom we know used their own paychecks to sow back into our learning. And they also worked to expose us culturally. Some of us can still do the tap dance that Mrs. W.F. Jones taught us in 2nd grade. Some of us formed our political bearings in 6th grade under the leadership of Mrs. Cherry, who also shepherded us through the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. Or we formed our political bearings in the 12th grade when Mr. James Barnes, Mrs. Moss, and Mr. Curtis Perry nurtured us through our outrage over the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. Our 4 years of high school were truly affected by the circumstances of our nation, undergoing an aggressive experiment in integration. Some of our classmates were brave enough to volunteer for this trial at desegregation and volleyed between Pattillo High and Tarboro High schools. Eventually, 76 of us came together in our senior year to become what we are forever known as the last class. The class of 1970 is the last 12th grade to graduate from W.A. Pattillo High School. We thoroughly enjoyed our days and the unbreakable bond forged by shared joys and shared sacrifice. Let it be recorded in the annals of history that we, the last class, the class of 1970, sacrificed a treasure, our yearbook. The class of 1970 chose not to produce a yearbook so that W.A. Pattillo High School could move forward into integration without leftover debt. After we graduated, a large number of us went on to college or to the military. Several remained in Tarboro and helped to maintain the honor of the community and the spirit of unity.
The class of 1970 was the last class to graduate from the W.A. Pattillo High School. From 1924 to 1970, the W.A. Pattillo High School served the community of East Tarboro and educated numerous doctors, lawyers, business professionals, nurses, leaders, housewives, and teachers. Michelle Obama says, "We learned about gratitude and humility, that so many people had a hand in our success. From the teachers who inspired us to the janitors who kept our school clean. And we were taught to value everyone's contribution and treated everyone with respect. We salute Pattillo, the school that taught us. From the teachers who inspired us to all others who served us.